Talking to Sky on the phone, Storm Reid kept calling me. Like, she just kept calling me and calling me, like, back to back, back to back, back to back, back to back. And I'm like, Sky, can you hold on for a minute, baby? She's like, sure. So I clicked over. I'm like, Storm, yes. How may I help you? So she's like, I don't get it. So you tell me to take off my pants. I take off my pants, and you tell me you gotta call me back. I'm like, okay, because it was Sky. She's like, you didn't have to make up an excuse. I'm like, I did make up an excuse. Sky is on the phone. And she said she was trying to call you and you wasn't picking up the phone. She was like, well, of course, I was talking to you. So I'm like, oh, okay, but you could have clicked over and talked to your best friend. You knew her first. So she's like, mm-hmm. She's like, so what was that? All the fucking damn plan to just get me to take off my clothes so you can say I knew you was a bitch? I'm like, no. I mean, I told you I always found you attractive, Storm. She's like, I don't see how you just gonna click over and then gonna leave me in my fucking underwear. I don't see how. I'm like, Storm, let me call you right back. She's like, see, there you go with the calling back shit. You know what? Just don't call me back. Just don't. Don't even worry about it. You already with Sky. Don't call me back. You don't have to. It's not like we to fuck. She was like, it's not like we together anyway. We're not a couple. We're not anything. So you don't have to call me back. You're not doing me a favor. Just keep talking to whoever you say you're talking to. So I'm like, okay. She got a little attitude problem. So I click over and I'm like, Sky, what you doing, baby? She's like, nothing, laying down on my laptop, just like on YouTube and stuff. I'm like, oh, you are? She's like, mm-hmm. And then checking my Instagram and stuff on my phone. I'm like, but you on your phone? She was like, yeah, I got another phone. So I'm like, oh, okay, you got two phones. She's like, yeah. So I'm like, oh, okay. So she was like, but that's it. Like, kind of like looking at the feed on Instagram and looking at people pictures and stuff and liking it or looking at their videos. And yeah, that's what I'm doing. What you doing? I'm like, just like listening to my baby talk on the phone. She's like, you really miss me? I'm like, yeah. You gonna let me make love to you? She's like, yes, all night long. I'm like, oh, you are? She's like, mm-hmm. So she was like, you really coming? I'm like, yeah, I'm really coming. She's like, okay. So Storm calls me. She just kept calling me. So I click over. I'm like, yes, Storm. So she's like, what you saying? Like, you got attitude for her. So I'm like, okay, what do you want to talk about? Like, what's up? Why you keep calling me? So she's like, okay, I'm going to just throw it out there. You really like me? Just tell me. I mean, it's not like I'm trying to get with you. I just want to know, do you really like me? It's just a yes or no answer. I'm like, yeah, I like you. She's like, so why in the hell did you say you had to click over then? So I'm like, because I'm on the phone with your best friend. She's like, don't give me that. That's a sorry ass excuse why you had to get off the phone. I asked you a question and I'm like, I just answered your question. She's like, yeah, but if you like me, you not acting like it. I'm like, okay, so you want me to talk to you while I'm talking to your friend? So she's like, you know what, David? Bye. So she hang up the phone and I'm like, okay, Storm is a little bit, I don't know if she bipolar or no. I don't know what the hell going on with Storm. So I'm like, okay. So I click back over. I'm like, Sky. She's like, yeah, I just got a weird text message from Storm. I'm like, well, what did it say? She was like, she can't do this. Y'all can go June the 13th. She don't want to go no more. She's backing out. Something about she doesn't want to see you now and something weird. She just texts me some weird stuff. So I'm like, oh, well, I don't know what's wrong with that. So all I know is that she's calling me back again. So Storm is calling me back again. I'm like, baby, can you hold on for a minute? She's like, sure. So I click back over and I'm like, Scott, I'm like, look, Storm, why the hell you text my goddamn girl telling her that you ain't going? So she like, going where? I'm like, you said you're not going to the movies, but it's June the 13th. Why are you not going? So she like, cuz David, I don't like being around a fake person. And you said that you like me and you're not acting like it. And it's really getting to me because I did something that I would never in a million years do for any boy on the phone. I would never take off my pants for any boy. I don't care how much they look cute. So I'm like, okay, look, Storm, I do like you. But I mean, if I see you in person, I'm going to want to make love to you. She like, and who's to say that I don't want you to make love to me? I'm like, but you talking all that tough stuff to Sky Jackson and you acting different. She like, David, so what? I can say what I want to say to my best friend. So I'm like, okay, and you really sure about this? She like, sure about what? I'm like, sure about talking to me. She like, yeah, I'm very sure. I mean, are you sure? You said you wanted to talk to me before you seen Sky. So now you talking to me and I like you and you like me now. So why don't you start acting like you really like me? Like you said you did. So I'm like, okay. But how we gonna do that if we go to the movies? How that shit gonna play out? So she like, what do you mean? I'm like, when I'm all over Sky. She like, okay, you just come and see me when you're done. I mean, we're not gonna be at the movies all night. So I'm like, you gonna let me beat it up? She like, by beat it up, you talking about sex? I'm like, yeah. She like, I'm a virgin. I'm like, so are you gonna let me beat it up? She like, I'm gonna call you back. So I'm like, okay. So she get off the phone and I'm like, Sky, are you there? She's like, I'm here, baby. So I'm like, what you doing, girl? She's like, still doing the same thing I told you the last time. So I'm like, oh, okay. She's like, but now I'm about to get something to eat. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like, so Sky, how much can you trust your best friend Storm? She's like, I've been friends with Storm for a very long time, for a few years, about almost a year now. I'm like, okay. She's like, it should be going on like 2 years. So I'm like, and you can trust her? She's like, I mean, as far as I know, I can trust her. I mean, she never did anything like, real wrong to me to make me not trust her. Why? Have she told you something? I'm like, nah. So she's like, okay, well, I miss you. I'm like, I miss you too. So she's like, so what time are you coming? I'm like, whenever you get to your other state. She's like, I'm already there. I'm like, you are? She's like, yeah, I told you I was going to call you when I got here. I'm like, oh, so you already there? She's like, yeah, so are you coming? I'm like, Sky, you know I'm going to come to make love to that sexy body. She's like, you better come. So I'm like, I'm coming, girl. So that's when Storm calls me back and I click over. And I'm like, oh boy, I wonder what she going to say now. So I'm like, yes, Storm. So she like, so I have an answer to your question. I'm like, okay. She's like, you asked me, was I going to let you have sex with me when you came to see me after you done at the movies with her? Yeah. Yeah, I'll let you do it. I'm like, you sure? She's like, yeah, I'll let you do it, David. I'm like, okay. She's like, but it can't be a hit it and quit it. It can't be a hit it and quit it. It can't be, I'm going to hit it and then that's it. Like, you can't just ignore me after you hit it. You really got to start like showing me that you like me after I give you what you want. Because if I give you what you want, and I mean really give you what you want, you can't just say, well, all right, I got what I want out of her and I don't need her anymore. You don't have, you can, if you act like that and treat me that way, I swear I'm never going to come back from that because I'm going to be really hurt because my virginity means a lot to me. So if I give it to you, that means that I actually really like you enough to give you something. So I'm like, okay. She's like, so to answer your question, yes, I will let you beat it up. But that's my terms for you to beat it up. Like, you gotta act like you really like me, and you can't ignore my phone calls, and you can't ignore my texts. Is that a promise? Is that something you can kind of live by? I'm like, yeah, I can live by that. She's like, okay, I'll let you do it. I'm like, okay, but what about your friend Sky? She's like, Sky doesn't have to know. I'll talk to Sky, but David, I don't know. I don't know about that situation. I don't know everything. The only thing that I do know is that I like you and that you like me. And that's the only thing I know. And I didn't look, let me tell you something, David. I didn't really think that I would actually be doing, like, saying this type of shit to you. Because I was literally preaching to Sky about how she did all this stuff and now I'm acting the same way. So let me tell you something. I know what you're about to say. In your mind, you probably calling me a hypocritical bitch, but whatever. But anyway, I just gave you your answer. So, are you for real about doing it? I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, all right. So she was like, and I just got off of my period too. So I'm like, well, what do you mean? She's like, I thought you was gonna come tonight. I'm like, tonight? She's like, what? Are you doing something tonight or what? I'm like, so Storm, you want me to come tonight? She's like, yes, David. Can you come tonight? I'm like, well, I was going to see Sky. She was like, okay, you are a trillionaire. You can make it work. You can see both of us. What? You can't see her and see me? I'm like, yeah, I can see you. She's like, okay, so you coming tonight? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna come tonight. She's like, all right, well, I gotta make sure that my mom is asleep. So what are you gonna get another room like you did with Sky? I'm like, yeah. She was like, okay, so I'll wait till my mom is asleep and I'll just call you the same way Sky did and I'll let you know when my mother's asleep. So I'm like, you sure you want to do this? She's like, David, if you ask me again, I'm not going to do it. I said yes. I'm like, okay. She's like, and I said tonight, because if you don't do it tonight, I am going to change my mind. So I'm like, okay. She's like, and that's it. That's my final offer. I'm not going to wait for another fucking week to let you hit it. If you want to hit it now and I'm saying yes now, then I want you to come now. I'm like, okay, all right. So I don't use condoms. She's like, what do you mean? You don't use no protection. So what if you get me pregnant? I'm like, I'm not going to get you pregnant. She's like, you don't know that. You don't know that. What if you come inside me? What if you nut inside me? And what if your sperm hit my egg? I'm too young to be a mother. You have to put protection on your little wiener or big wiener or whatever you want to call your wiener. I'm like, okay. She's like, you got to put protection on it. You can't just go inside of me raw, David, because I don't want to get pregnant and I don't want to take any chances. I'm like, you not. I'm going to pull out. I always pull out. She's like, okay, I'll let you do it because you say you pull out. Is that better? I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay. So you coming tonight, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm coming tonight. She's like, and you promise, right? I'm like, I promise. She's like, okay, well, let me go deal with my mother, and I guess I'll see you tonight, right? So it's not going to be no lie. Like you say you coming and you ain't really coming. I'm like, Storm, I said I'm coming. So, yeah, I'm going to beat it up. She's like, all right, okay. So I get off the phone with Storm, and Sky was like, who was you on the phone with for that long? So I'm like, I was just talking to, my soldiers, taking care of some things. She's like, okay. So Storm says she's going now. She like changed her mind. She says she's going. I'm like, don't pay attention to that girl. So she's like, okay, well, what do you want me to pay attention to? I'm like, you and me. So she's like, I could pay attention to that all day. I'm like, oh, okay. So she's like, so what time do you think my mom was going to go to sleep? I mean, I know the time my mother go to sleep. She goes to sleep at the same time all the time. I'm like, oh, she do? She's like, yep. And I know when she's getting tired. So I'm like, oh, you do? She's like, I know all of her patterns. So I'm like, okay, well, when she go to sleep, you let me know. So I come over there and make love to you all night. She's like, you promise you're not going to go nowhere? I'm like, well, the last time you had to go somewhere. She's like, well, this time I don't have to. I'm like, okay, all right. Well, we're going to make that a promise. She's like, okay. I was like, you said okay? She's like, yeah, okay. So that's my baby. I'm like, I like it when you say okay. She's like, I like you a lot, David. I'm like, I like you a lot too, Sky. So I was just getting a lot of damn girls, y'all. I just looked at myself like, I'm getting too much pussy. But, you got to get what you got to get. Am I going to do this or not? I know I'm going to do it to Sky.